You ain't never heard a gut-wrenching song. You hear a black person sing one of those old black Negro spirituals. Nobody knows. I can't sing it like that, see, because I haven't experienced what it is. When you've experienced hell, it comes out of the voice. I said, when you experience hell, it comes out of the voice.
Look at the church,
y'all. If you're one of those people that you got a problem with black people or whatever, you better shut your mouth. Because they're God's people. You better hear what I'm saying to you. You better shut your white mouth.
Do you all see the white people in the front looking at the only 3 or 4 black people that attend the church? Look at the black people there. Y'all may not be able to see it real good. But even the black people feel uncomfortable because they know they in the church with a bunch of racists. So they don't want to they don't want to shout amen too hard because they know that indicts their white brothers and sisters in Christ. See, that's you funny looking Negroes. You scared to offend your brothers and sisters in Christ who's racist. So the black people, it's only 3 of them in the whole church. And they all in the front row. You see all the white people looking their direction. The other white people are scared and reluctant and they're shocked because in every other white church on Sundays, they're rejoicing in the white supremacist government that is the United States and that they're an extension of. They can't believe he's saying this. Members of this church, people in that church is probably the ones that was down there, some of them, in Washington, D.C. in January. They're wanting to know, what is this white man talking about? Y'all listen, thumbs up, family. Look.
You're white now. You better shut your white mouth. I'm not kidding you. I know some of you was raised in the deep south and you was raised by prejudiced people. You better shut your white mouth. I'm not kidding you. I know some of you was raised in the deep south and you was raised by prejudiced people and bigoted people. You better get that out of your system. You better get.
Now he's still being kind. He's trying to say, he said some of y'all was raised in the South as if racism ain't all over America. He's trying to say that those of you that came from the South brought that racism with you. He said they was bigoted. Get it out your system. He didn't say racist. He didn't say antichrist and godless. He just told them, get it out your system. Descendant Lair, get him, Vicky, like you always do. Thank you, beloved. Descendant Lair, you're always such a supporter and an encourager. Your gift is blessed, beloved, 1,000-fold. Thumbs up, family. Listen, I'm giving the little man credit where credit is due, but he's still walking on eggshell with these white supremacists. He's still giving them an out. And I'm going to tell you why he's handling this differently than the average white supremacist. Somebody's in here saying they can't hear me. Family, can you hear me? Let me check and see on my device. Let me see if I can tell. Because if I can hear myself and somebody out here lying saying you can't hear me, that means you're a troll and you're trying to go.
Yeah. Period. Period.
Thumbs up, family. Thumbs up, family. Okay, now whoever says sound again gotta go. Period. You sound like a troll, beloved. Fix your device. Stop lying. Now let me get back to this. Watch this. Listen.
Because I had one of those people that you got a problem with black people or whatever, you better shut your mouth. Because they're God's people. You better hear what I'm saying to you. You better shut your white mouth. You better shut your right mouth. I'm not kidding you. I know some of you was raised in the deep south and you was raised by prejudiced people and bigoted people. You better get that out of your system. You better get it out of your system. It'll cause you to suffer right along with those masters. It'll cause you to suffer right along with.
Did y'all hear that? He said it's going to cause you to suffer right along with those masters. He said you better shut. I didn't say it. The white evangelical pastor said you better shut your white mouth. Y'all heard him say it 3, 4, 5 times, right? He's telling them, hurry up and get this out your system. You got to ask yourself this question. Why is he saying that? Why is this particular white evangelical warning racist members of his church that they better get it out of their system? And why is he repeatedly saying they are God's chosen people? When you go into the average Christian evangelical church, which we know that's an oxymoron, they're telling you usually about another group of people that they say are chosen. I ain't going there today, but you feel me? They're usually telling you somebody else is God's chosen. What is it that this particular white evangelical knows
Dirt, motherfucker.
that the others don't?
They dirt. That's all. That's all. They've been dirty, still dirty, and he's still a liar.
Why is it that he sounds like there's an urgency in telling them to shut up and telling them that we're God's people and telling them that they better get their bigotry, is one of the words he used instead of saying racism, out of their system? You guys better ask yourself, why is it that the average other evangelical isn't saying something similar? May I tell you? They all know what's written. I said they all know what's written. What do you mean what's written? This isn't just religious talk. When you dismiss what I'm saying as religious talk, don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of different groups out there that misuse the scripture or they beat you over the head with the scripture, and so it can be a turnoff. But did you all know that your government, the most prominent one that you're familiar with, but he's not the only one, that they study Bible, Quran, and other holy books that point to the doom and the fall of America? Individuals who are not true Christians, believers, Muslims, Jews, still have respect for certain ancient texts that prophesy or foretell current modern events. You dismiss it as religious talk, but these are politicians and world leaders that understand certain things that's written, and they utilize that secret esoteric knowledge. I can't scream, my voice. There's a such thing as exoteric, and then there's a such thing as esoteric. The exoteric revelation are things that are obvious, things that are easily discernible and known. But then you have what they call esoteric, which is veiled knowledge that's not always available or understood by the masses. You, by not having an understanding, are living haphazard lives and scratching your head at certain things, listen that the wickedly wise know. I teach you all the time. I don't know nothing about whatever other little groups y'all talking about, but you listen to the Vicky Show. You listening to the Vicky Show. You listen to what I'm saying. That's what you're listening to today. Be seated. Listen. What you must understand, as it's written, write this down. You can study it later. I'm gonna let you listen to a little bit of what this man's saying in just a second. I often refer to the book of Revelation. Chapter 12, right? Normally I tell you about what verse 12 says, right? Listen. It says, therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He is filled with fury because he knows that his time is short. Some of you are confused because the one that's styled in scripture as the devil or the opposer has been the one teaching you the scriptures. So no wonder your funny looking self is confused.
Get those guns.
They taught you that the devil was some inanimate spirit only. And although your open enemy,
my beauty,
matches most of the traits that's associated with what the scripture calls, with whom the scripture calls the devil, even though you see clearly that they lie. John chapter 8, the devil is a liar. You see very clearly John chapter 10 when it says this particular thief does what? Steal, kills, and destroy. You know there's one person or one group, black family. I can't scream right now because I'm losing my voice. That matches the description of the liar, of the one that goes about the earth stealing, killing, and destroying. But they told you that the devil was just a spirit, an energy that's not manifested in the 3D realm. That he's not mankind or a kind of a man. I'm gonna leave it alone.
Jeez. Come on, sis. Period.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, that part.
But when you look at Revelation chapter 12, not just verse 12 that I just read to you, but also starting at verse 9. Listen, it says that the great dragon was hurled down. That ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. That, when you think about who is that people that leads the world astray, how do they lead the world astray? Through their religious doctrine, through their media, arts and entertainment, through their government, and every other way of people activity, through education. That's how they lead the whole world astray, not because they are omniscient omnipresent entities. But when you control, this is good, Spirit, when you control the high places like government, even when you're in South Africa, you are the minority white people there, but you're still controlling things. When you control government, Wall Street, news, print, it will give the appearance that you're omnipresent. Did you hear what I just said? It gives you the
Current news and prophecy awakening. This is the DK Foreman Weekly Report. And now, DK Foreman.
Now let me say something right quick. I think back on the African American people in America. I think
Current news and prophecy awakening. This is the DK Foreman Weekly Report. And now, DK Foreman.
Now let me say something right quick. I think back on the African American people in America. I think how they were taken against their wills, put in the belly of ships, brought over here, beat, cussed. Many of them died in the guts of those ships, thrown overboard. They were pulled from families over there. You ain't never heard a gut-wrenching song. You hear a black person sing one of those old black Negro spirituals. Nobody knows. I can't sing it like that, see, because I hadn't experienced what they be. When you've experienced hell, it comes out of the voice. I said, when you experience hell, it comes out of the voice. If you're one of those people that you got problem with black people or whatever, you better shut your mouth, because they're God's people. You better hear what I'm saying to you. You better shut your white mouth. You better shut your white mouth. I'm not kidding you. I know some of you was raised in the deep South, and you was raised by prejudiced people and bigoted people. You better get that out of your system. You better get it out of your system. It'll cause you to suffer right along with those masters. It'll cause you to suffer right along with them. These are God's people. And I know that there's wicked in white races and wicked in black races and all that. I'm not justifying none of that stuff. I'm just saying God knows what happened to the black race. He knows how they wound up over here, and God is going to reimburse the black people for all their trouble and all their labor. You watch what I tell you. Watch what I tell you. Right along with those masters. It'll cause you to suffer right along with them. These are God's people. And I know mouth. I'm not kidding you. I know some of you was raised in the deep South and you was raised by prejudiced people and bigoted people. You better get that out of your system. You better get it out of your system. It'll cause you to suffer right along with those masters. It'll cause you to suffer right along with them. These are God's people. And I know that there's wicked in white races and wicked in black races and all that. I'm not justifying none of that stuff. I'm just saying God knows what happened to the black race. He knows how they wound up over here. And God is going to reimburse the black people for all their trouble and all their
to understand events that are currently happening on the earth, so we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. I got inundated right now with many witnesses concerning this video right here. Just shows how the whole body is working together to bring out this truth. It's that time. We're going to take a look at this video, but it's not surprising to me whatsoever. We just moved into March. We're working our way to our new year. There's going to be a whole lot of cleaving going on. There's going to be a whole lot of people who are going to be seeing the light right now. It's just, we know as we get closer to the Great Tribulation, there's going to be more people who are going to realize that they've been lied to, or willing to admit it. I'm sure many of these guys have known this for a very long time. But the lies don't work anymore. The things that they've been saying about us or ignoring us and putting us in a corner, that 800-pound gorilla in the corner that they don't want to deal with, is here now. And there's nothing that they can do to refute what the Most High is bringing out right now. See, before, when they were in their blessing, it was easy to ignore us. But now that their blessing is being taken away from them, and they see their inevitable fall, now they're going to admit the truth. The Most High is putting spirits on them to admit the truth. Let's take a look at this video real quick. You get some parts right. But this is what happens, before we don't let Gentiles teach us. These guys are not capable of teaching us the truth. They'll admit some things right here, admit some truths right here, but they're not in any position, they have no qualifications to teach us whatsoever. But what he says here is beautiful. It's what we've been saying this whole time. So just because he says it doesn't give it any more validity. It's just now he's admitting it to his own people. We've been saying the same things and more for a very long time. He's just now getting around to admitting it. So let's listen to a little bit here.
Now let me say something right quick. I think back on the African American people in America. I think how that they were taken against their wills, put in the belly of ships, brought over here, beat, cussed. Many of them died in the guts of those ships, thrown overboard. They were pulled from families over there. You ain't never heard a gut-wrenching song. You hear a black person sing one of those old black Negro spirituals. Nobody knows. I can't sing it like that, see, because I haven't experienced what they mean. When you've experienced hell, it comes out of the voice. I said, when you experience hell, it comes out of the voice. If you're one of those people that you got problem with black people or whatever, you better shut your mouth, because they're God's people. You better hear what I'm saying to you. You better shut your mouth. You better shut your white mouth. You better shut your white mouth. I'm not kidding you. I know some of you was raised in the deep South, and you was raised by prejudiced people and bigoted people. You better get that out of your system. You better get it out of your system. It'll cause you to suffer. Right along with those masters. It's
going to cause you to suffer. Shut your white mouth. Just like he said right there. See, that was the whole thing. They keep saying everything's equal. John 3:16. As long as it's a white person who's breaking everything down for you. Just look at the timing today. He's pretty much telling that white people, you have nothing to say anymore. That's what this guy's telling them. To white people, you have nothing to say. You have no authority anymore. First day of March. 19 days to the new year. He's telling them, that's it. You guys being able to tell them everything and be the authority, that's over. It's done. Which is what we've been saying. We're moving into the Great Tribulation. All those lies from the priests of Mahan, that they've just been able to just, hey, we said it, that's it. You have no recourse. If we say, you know, it's Monday and it's really Friday, you just believe it's Monday. Because we have that kind of authority. This guy right here is saying, shut your white mouth. Because he knows that those white people, have been the ones lying, telling half-truths, not telling the whole truth, making all the black people keep their mouths shut, not giving any validity to any of the so-called black people, unless they pretty much just espouse the same lies the so-called white people do. They like those kind of black people. The ones that say, oh yeah, white Jesus came and died for me too. Oh yeah, this is my country. Oh yeah, we're all equal. See, they love those kind of black people. But this guy's telling you right here, white supremacy, white authority, done.
Cause you to suffer right along with them. These are God's people. And I know that there's wicked in white races and wicked in black races and all that. I'm not justifying none of that stuff. I'm just saying God knows what happened to the black race. He knows how they wound up over here. And God is going to reimburse the black people for all their trouble and all their labor. You watch what I tell you. Watch what I tell you. Now let me say something right quick.
Okay. They're going to reimburse us. See, these guys know this. It's all over the scriptures. Everything you've done to us is going to happen to you. He's admitting it. He's finally admitting it. And there's a lot of very uncomfortable people out there in the pews. There's a lot of uncomfortable people. Yeah, they might have clapped, but they didn't. I'm sure there's plenty of them that weren't clapping at all because they don't want to hear this truth. Kind of hard when you go to your church and you want to get a good feel-good sermon for the week, and he comes out and busts this one out for you. He's like, not only is you going to have a crappy week, but the people you've been crapping on this whole time, those are God's people.
Boom!
And that the Most High knows exactly what has happened to us. And he's going to make those people reimburse us for absolutely everything we've gone through. That's the whole Bible in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. One of these guys have been listening. They've been listening to the Hebrews. Mm-hmm. They've been listeners for a long time. But they've been able to ignore us for, because it was their blessing. But when you get into even other scriptures from other books, it says the same thing. You know, it says the same thing all over the place. Let's read Deuteronomy real fast. Deuteronomy 7 and 6. Deuteronomy 7 and 6. So you guys have put us at the bottom and ignored us the whole time. But this is what the Most High says about us. Deuteronomy 7 and 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. That's how it was set up from the beginning. We messed up and got thrown to the bottom. Took on the curses. This whole time the church has been trying to hide the fact that we are the people. That the churches and the society stole our identity. And that they replaced us. Yes, you replaced us for a time when you got the blessing. But now the blessing is coming back to the Most High's chosen people. There's no stopping it whatsoever. Just as you guys have been, the Gentiles are having their great day today, talking about their new vaccine and how, you know, they're looking forward to the future. They also came out with the fact that the number of cases have now started to creep up, as they love to say. Oh, it's creeping up now. Deaths are starting to, as they say, creep up. But they got all these vaccines coming. Vaccines won't make a difference because the Most High is the author of this movie. And when he says the plagues are released, they're released. No matter how quickly you try to open up everything, the Most High is, like I said, is the author of this movie. And he's about to shut everything down. Nothing is done on accident. Nothing is by coincidence. This guy having this video come out right now, admitting the truth, admitting that we are the Most High's chosen people, and admitting that there's going to be a payback. None of that is on accident. Psalms of Solomon. You read Psalms of Solomon. If you have the Old Testament pseudepigrapha, it's on page 660. Israel was taken into exile to a foreign country. The Lord expelled them from the inheritance. That's exactly what he did to us. All these other psalms that they've hidden, they're all talking about us. They're all breaking down the things that have happened to our people. And then Most High, here at the end, this is exactly what's happening right now within the Psalms of Solomon. 7, page 658. You will have compassion on Israel forever, under his yoke forever. Most High is going to have compassion on our people forever. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. You're seeing the Most High's compassion to his people. You're seeing the Most High turn his face back to his people. That's what we're seeing right now. Nothing happens without the Father's will. He allowed us to go through all of this. And now he's awakening our people, but now he's going to awake the other nations. They're going to see all the things that have happened to our people and the way that we've been treated and the way no one's cared. And if you ever read the Nag Hammadi, the tripartite tractate, that's a great book right there. This is page 97. Okay, the Father's plan guarded knowledge till the end. The Most High has guarded knowledge and understanding until the end. Many people have tried to come up with books and movies talking about how things were going to happen here at the end, but all of them fail because they have forgotten or excluded. They hadn't forgotten, excluded on purpose the Most High's chosen people. And now at the end, the Most High is bringing out knowledge and understanding. And right now at the end, and for the other nations, the Most High has closed off understanding to you until the end. And now at the end, this guy right here, this pastor here, is bringing out that knowledge and understanding. You don't hear them talking about us being the chosen people, us being God's people. You don't ever hear them talking about them having to pay. But here at the end, that's exactly what's going on. This is also going to be from the Nag Hammadi, Apocalypse of Peter, page 80. Their minds will be closed, for the invisible one has opposed them. Most High kept their minds closed until now. You imagine, like I said, you imagine that ride home after that church service for the people who were in the pews there, in the church there. I don't think they were ready for that. Even if they think it, they for sure don't want to hear their pastor saying that. They looked to him for spiritual guidance, and he just guided them into a huge ditch. He just guided them into a heartbreaking reality.
Period.
Gospel of Truth, page 45, in the Nag Hammadi. Nothing happens without his pleasure. Nothing happens without the Father's will. So all you guys who keep thinking all this stuff is just the devil, most of you guys don't understand it. It's the Most High who controls both sides. It's the Most High who keeps people, not knowing what's really going on. And now at the end, he's about to let it all hang out. The whole world is believing a lie. But you're going to see many people get exposed to the truth now, because those are the times that we're in right now. So just look at it. March 1st, all of a sudden you get this video coming out. Moving into, just imagine what we're going to see in the next few days leading up until our new year. They've known this whole time, but they're bringing this information out is all the Most High. He's bringing out on his time. So like I said, today they talked about how finally cases and deaths are ticking up. Telling people, don't get so complacent. Don't think that we've already won. Don't start opening up everything. They said, screw that. We're going to do whatever we want. Hey, these numbers are down. We're opening up everything we can. Life's going back to normal. Uh-oh. Then this guy comes out with this video. It's circulating on the internet. People are seeing it. So when they go, they go to bed at night. Is it true? What that pastor said, is it true? Well, no. Everything's getting better, isn't it? The numbers are going down? No, they're not. We've seen this movie before. How the numbers shoot up, come down, plateau, and then start to shoot back up. But we have vaccines. That's going to fix everything, right? That's what's going on at night when they're at home. Late at night when their kids are asleep. The lights are off. The angels are whispering in their ear, telling them that, the same things that we did to their kids, they're going to do to our kids? No, that can't be. Maybe. Other videos popping up. Then they start to go and get on their computers and go do a little search. And then more videos start popping up talking about the Most High's chosen people. And who they really are. And how now the other nations are going to have to pay for their conduct, according to what they've done to the Most High chosen people, according to what the scriptures say. The scriptures don't say that you get to do all these things to us and you get to just walk away. The scriptures say that you're going to have your eyes open and you're going to know who the Most High's chosen people are, and you're going to be surprised. Read that Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5. You know, the books that the Vatican and the Christian churches have hidden from you. So what this guy is saying is true. But we've been telling you this for a very long time. So don't think it like it's something that he came up with, because it's not. Most High put in his spirit. Most High controls him too. The Most High put in his spirit to admit the truth to you today. So let's listen to it again for a little bit more, because it sounds so good.
I think back on the African American people in America. I think how that they were taken against their wills, put in the belly of ships, brought over here, beat, cussed. Many of them died in the guts of those ships, thrown overboard. They were pulled from families over there. You ain't never heard a gut-wrenching song. You hear a black person sing one of those old black Negro spirituals. Nobody knows. I can't sing it like that, see, because I haven't experienced what they be. When you've experienced hell, it comes out of the voice. I said, when you experience hell, it comes out of the voice. If you're one of those people that you got problem with black people or whatever, you better shut your mouth, because they're God's people. You better hear what I'm saying to you. So shut your mouth. You better shut your white mouth. You better shut your white mouth. I'm not kidding you. I know some of you was raised in the deep South, and you was raised by prejudiced people and bigoted people. You better get that out of your system. You better get it out of your system. It'll cause you to suffer right along with those masters. It'll cause you to suffer right along with them. These are God's people. And I know that there's wicked in white races and wicked in black races and all that. I'm not justifying none of that stuff. I'm just saying God knows what happened to the black race. He knows how they wound up over here. And God is going to reimburse the black people for all their trouble and all their labor. You watch what I tell you.
Testament of Moses.
African Americans are officially independent,
which is, again,
and they have a
Old
major
Testament
national treaty with 80 countries to back it up legally. The treaty is called the Declaration of the Global African Diaspora Summit, and it gives African Americans regional government powers as Region 6 of the African Union. This region contains 350 million people in 90 different countries, and African Americans are identified as the strongest in the entire region. African Americans are officially a new world power government on the same level as all other world governments, just not as organized yet. Regardless, this regional government title means martial law, forced vaccinations, and other executive orders from the U.S. government will not apply to black people in America. It also means law enforcement officers are no longer authorized to police black people. The mass media hid this major treaty away from African Americans for almost a decade because they didn't want them to find out how much economic power they now have as a new regional government of Africa. But the secret is out, and this new strategy for justice is called Diplomat Day. Diplomat Day provides coordinated execution between high levels and ground levels to eventually eradicate racism. The ground level is simple for the masses. Just publicly display the African Union flag in large or creative coordinated efforts. African Americans publicly displaying their flag in large numbers has legal benefits now because it is a lawful statement of regional jurisdiction, and that's what Diplomat Days are about. Diplomat Days begin at a rally point with music, food, and guest speakers to commemorate the new regional government status of African Americans from the African Union. Everyone brings African Union flags to the rally. Those of voting age votes to declare state of emergency due to racism and dehumanization in America. At the end of the rally, everyone leaves together to cruise the city with their flags displayed on their cars, or with a passenger displaying a flag out from the car windows in a large group until they stop at a government building for a huge photo shoot with their flags. This sends a clear message to the United States that the African Union's regional government in America is an active and visible neighbor, which promotes respect for their jurisdictional distinction, equality, and relations. Visit diplomatday.com for more information or to organize a rally in your state. diplomatday.com.
That was a way to elevate my people, and that was a part of the trees that we had. I will fight for that, okay? But I see the casinos is like this. Most people like Donald Trump is the investors on your reservation for a casino making money on your reservation. So you got the same 1% making money off them reservations, okay?
Oh my god. Did you just say who I thought the one the one they all screaming for? Go ahead, keep going.
So the casinos is not what people think. The casinos is just like the federally recognized tribe. White folks got 556 sovereign nations, and black folks ain't got nothing because we can't get along. Bottom line. White folks on reservations gonna have their guns, and white folks gonna be going around throughout the rest of the United States taking black folks' guns. But they won't be able to take them off a reservation because that's 556 federally recognized tribes.
So hold on, let me get this. Hold on. Let me get this because this sounds pretty scary here. So maybe they got a scheme going on to get white folks.
No, take the word maybe out.
Okay. Let me take that word. They got a scheme going on telling white folks to join, become Native Americans so they can't get their guns taken. Right there. That is so.
It's not just the guns. They're gonna be able to have money. They get to set aside. They get the minority set aside. They get the Indian set aside.
Oh my goodness!
The white folks been on welfare since they come to this country. That's the real welfare.
Wow, Chief, I'm gonna tell you right there now. Me and you talking, and right there, I already know you telling facts because you can see it. The reason why the tribes and notice they were. Correct me if I'm wrong. During the time when this was going on, they were actually trying to get the other tribes to say no, go against the black tribes. I remember it was a time that's when they were going against the black indigenous farmers.
That's right. And now soon the black indigenous farmer won their fight. Did not them white Indians win off that same fight? They ain't have to fight nothing. They ain't fought nothing. They won.
Right.
So while we sitting here arguing over if we Hebrew, Moors, indigenous or not, them people getting their act together.
Yeah. That's what we talking tonight.
We can't get our act together because we stuck on the word stupid. And they know we stuck on stupid. Okay? You know, on a 45 record, it gets stuck, you gotta put a penny on it to make it jump. I'm still trying to figure out, can I get a penny somebody to put on this record and make it jump to scratch? Because we on the scratch right now.
We doing a scratch like yeah. And the thing is, we love scratching too. That's another thing we do. We teaching how people how to learn how to scratch. But let me just get there because I want y'all to just go where we're going with this, because what we're seeing is people taking advantage of something that is obviously ours and getting away with it because the ignorance level of our people are battling over who's who. That's like that game show that they've been playing on us.
Okay, let's do this one. We can stay all day arguing over who came first, the chicken or the egg. My question is, do you have a chicken or do you have an egg? Because if I have a hen, I got a chance of getting an egg, and if I got an egg, I got a chance of getting a chicken. But if I don't have now one, I'm just talking.
Yeah. That's a sad state. Now, Chief, we got to get a little deep here. I always ask you to participate. Those are my guests who've been on here. I got to play this for the people because, see, this is the so-called February, the Black History Month. But we're going to get a full dose. See, this is what all Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark, they said this day was coming where y'all would have to reckon with yourselves. it's time out for blaming everybody. You know, we generate $1 trillion in commercial trade, but it ain't amongst each other. Who fault is that? Now, this is somebody that our chief know about. I'm gonna play just a little bit of this because I want y'all to hear, because I can't get everybody in the world on here, but I'm getting the best I can do, and I appreciate all who have come on to the Dry Bones Connection. But this is somebody I met at a church down here in South Florida, and he says some crucial things. And Chief, I want your output on this right here after this. Should be coming up on y'all. Here we go.
Now, racism never existed on the earth until the 1400s. Never had it. There was no such thing as racism. You had people, for instance, who had practiced various forms of discrimination. We even had slavery. But to be enslaved prior to the 1400s, for only 3 reasons. Either you were a victim of a religious persecution, or you had some indebtedness and was enslaved, or you were a prisoner of war. Those are the only 3 reasons you could be enslaved until the 1400s. About 1442, when Magellan, he went around, Henry the Navigator went around the coast of Africa and picked up about 16 blacks and brought them back in 1442 and gave them to the Pope as gifts. And those slaves worked around the Vatican in Italy from 1442 and about 1488. And it became a good thing to have all these blacks working free around the Vatican and in the Pope space. No labor to be paid for. Other people wanted those advantages. So Pope Pius put out a public edict. Pope Innocent put out a public edict saying, look, if you want some slaves, go get some, but get black folk. He put out a public edict saying, if you're going to enslave anybody, enslave black people. And once that hit, all of a sudden everybody got interested in getting slaves. And that started the whole movement in 1488 and 1489. Now, something happened very important in 1495. Y'all know what happened in 1495? Allegedly, for this guy who was over here looking for drugs and some other thing. What was his name? Columbus. Y'all remember that guy? Now, he came over here and he supposedly discovered America about 7 years after the Pope had put out his edict using blacks as slaves. Now, all of a sudden, he goes back to Europe. A race started. All these countries got into a race to develop the Western world that Columbus said he had discovered. And what was the race about? They wanted to colonize and get resources, wealth, gold, silver, and cash crops from the West, because they never knew that the Americas existed. People in Europe never knew that there was a North America, Central America, and a South America. They got into a contest to explore it and to find it and profit from it. And because at that time, prior to that, thank you, sir. Prior to that, the only, can you all hear me as well without this?
This is Dr. Claude Anderson, y'all.
Which one do you need?
About 1 more minute of this.
You need this one? Okay. So prior to that time, they had Europe all through the 1400s. They call that, was going through what they call the Dark Ages. Europe was crime-ridden, impoverished, right? Diseased. And they said, we can resuscitate Europe. We can strengthen this continent. And we can find a way to develop the Western world, the Americas, Latin America, Central America, North America. If we can develop that country, we can bring ourselves out of a ditch as an European continent. And so they all said, well, how are we going to do it? They said, we need a labor class. So they all rushed down and picked up the Pope's edict and started grabbing blacks off the west coast of Africa.
Now he said, I'm going to leave it there. He said they picked them up because it's important now that we start to look at all of the history, y'all, that our historians have been saying, to see where are we really at in this historical picture. if this is the case, he said they picked up some blacks from, that was Dr. Claude Anderson, from off the West Coast. 16 brought it back. Now, if that's the case, they didn't come with, Columbus came with, we know, some black Europeans at the time who were in Spain. And let's get deep with that, sister, because this is what the Catholic, I want you to give us some history about how that Catholic Church wrote this, because they did not play when it came to the actual story, because they kept good-ass journals. They said that he brought these blacks. Now, these blacks on these ships, we have proof. If you look up Spanish American, Negro Spanish Americans in that era, just print it in, you will see that many blacks was on those ships with him. They didn't all have this pale Nordic look everybody trying to portray in these books, because these books telling you like they all look like Nordic. They had mulatto, Sephardic, they were called by the Jewish name, the Riscos. They had a sandy tan look that they came over here on. So remember that, y'all. So when they come here, y'all is acting like it's impossible for this type of collaboration. Before I let the Chief get back into it, because we're going to get deep now. How do you think, everybody who's listening, because we need to get the clarity of it, they had to know, they had to get in friendship with these indigenous people. Just like we got Obama who looked just like us, they using the same game from the same time frame. You just bring a person, your familiarity, even if you don't speak your language, Spanish people, you knew Obama looked like most of y'all in the Spanish world. You know that many of the leaders, so the color game is being used, because you heard one thing that Dr. Clark, he said Dr. Anderson said, there was no color game back then. That means the slave game was done amongst everybody regularly. There was no color game.
It wasn't.
So go ahead.
Let me tell you about slavery. Okay, I agree with everything he's saying, but let me add a couple more pieces in there.
Yeah, I want you to add the
pieces. Okay, in the 1600s, we got to go back to seeing who the first slave was in the 13 colonies. And they were not black. They were Irish. And Irish people was considered lower than a Negro. Okay? So they brought Irish people in here first in the 13 colonies and enslaved them. Okay?
That's what I read too.
They wasn't producing enough, so then they decided to bring in blacks. And it was a black man who fought to make black folks be a slave without freedom on servitude. The first man to say that he wanted to keep it, he was a free person who came here, a free person of color who came here and worked for his freedom in the 13 colonies. He ended up acquiring him some slaves who came in to work for servitude under him, and then he fought to keep them in slavery without pay. And he won.
That
wasn't a white man did that first. That was a black man did that first.
That was Consour versus what's his name. And matter of fact, Dr. Claude Anderson actually brought that out in one of the lectures I seen him in. He said that he said that openly, which seemed to never catch on to black academia to explain. That means that it was a different mindset.
We want to be like the white folks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not letting the white folks off the loop.
No, I know.
They're on that loop.
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay? I know.
But we got some black folks that helped to make this happen. Okay? And it was a black man brought in the free slave work first. That's the part that we don't want to say. A black man won that first court case within the 13 colonies, because remember now, they still over in the 13 colonies when he fight that case. Okay?
That's right.
They haven't spread across the proclamation line yet, all right? Now, by the time they spread across the proclamation line, now they have back slaves, and now they migrate out because they did the same thing in the 13 colony they did in Europe. They overpopulated the place, okay? And they begin to die of sickness and disease because they were steady coming in on ships. So that's why they start expanding westward, because they was overpopulating the place. Okay? So now, who they use? They use black people to come into the West. Not only did they use the Moors, Not only did they use other European blacks, they name one of the other set of European blacks they used, the Portuguese. Okay? Which down here our people call Geechees. They used the Portuguese who were dark with curly hair, is what they was described as. Now, who described them? George Washington. Okay? And George Washington used the Portuguese, he said, to go in and infiltrate the Indian communities. Okay?
That's right.
George Washington did that. So we got black folks walking around with us just as dangerous as some of the white folks that's walking around with us.
You know what? I love your spirit because you tell it like it is, and that's why that's why she called Chief Warhorse, y'all. Y'all better look that name up.
That's why I'm gonna tell you what is the price. I pay the price to tell the truth. That's why if you go to my GoFundMe, you're gonna see I only got $166 for the fight. Okay? People don't fund the truth. Okay? If you look online, you see people want to talk about me. Why? Because I'm telling the truth. But you know what? I'm winning my fight because I got facts and papers. Okay? You can't even get a black person to fund a good fight. But a black person will go build a church that's going to be blowed up around here like they burning them down and stuff. But they won't take and put money in something that can help educate the children to the truth.
No,
so all these black folks that's they fighting for their rights. Why are we not putting no money together? You ain't got to put it together with Chief Warhorse, but why don't somebody get a fight going that we can compile money and open up us some universities? Because we got money. We got money.
We got money. We playing this game, and that's another thing. We're going to talk about that. Because money is a very strange entity.
A real Indian don't go around begging for pennies. A real Indian asks their people to put together what they got. And that's called tribe and nation. How rich is our nation is how much we got in our pockets.
Yeah.
But we're not putting that up. You know what most black people want to be an Indian for? Because they think it's going to get something free. That's not my fight, sir. I'm not looking for nothing free. I'm fighting for my heritage. And I don't mind dying for what I believe in. And that's why I don't mind telling the truth. Because if I die telling the truth, they got another one coming along going to tell the truth within my family, and it's going to still go. You got to kill a lot of us to stop this truth.
Now, let me ask you, because me and you talked about this. There's a lot of people in this big continent here who admit they do have Indian. I mean, I've heard the same story myself. Alabama. I mean, all these areas down there, and in these regions here, amongst in Florida, which is a very strange, because we have this tribe called the Seminoles here, who supposedly was the last, fighting tribe. Told to us. Supposedly, not the ones now running the casinos, but the ones that.
No, they ain't black. If they're not black, you don't have them. You got the white Jesus down there. They done swapped it. They done swapped that too. Because how do you get black Indians to turn white? Now remember, the Gullah people are from West Africa, correct?
Yeah.
How did the Gullah people and some black Indians get together and make a white child?
It ain't sounding right.
Okay.
It had to be a bunch of.
Could have came out black.
Yeah, a couple of albinos maybe here and there, but I mean that's just nature, a freak of nature. If it happens, it happens. But you're right. Now again, here we go again. You've been around a lot of the legislation, so you more, and that's why I brought you on the program, because you can give facts. You're around legislation that is out there. I just heard recently that some governor or some state representative in Alabama is putting out some indigenous rights or sovereign rights. Now, let me ask you a question, because this word sovereign versus indigenous, where it seems to be in the battle of things, many people will say that, okay, this word means sovereign, a European term for nobility amongst old Europe, versus something that means indigenous, means that we here, we've been here, y'all just came here.
Okay.
So that's what
Okay, sovereignty is actually nothing but a contract or treaty of agreement. Okay? That's the first thing. There are different levels of sovereignty, and there's different kinds of sovereignty. All right? First of all, the indigenous people was here already in their own natural nature sovereignty. There was no contract with no one. Then there's a sovereignty that was given by the Catholic Church. Right now, the Vatican sits on sovereign property individually. Okay? The United States received their sovereignty through a letter from Canada. Okay? So the British gave United States sovereignty. Okay? Sovereignty is when another government recognizes you as a government.
Right.
That's
Pretty
all
much. That's
sovereignty
what I thought. But maybe some. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's the best way. Now, indigenous is a whole nother thing. Indigenous definition, which my people never called themselves indigenous, but from the definition of indigenous, it has different levels of that too, because the UN had one definition for indigenous, and the United States had another definition for indigenous. And this happened in 1941. Then as you came up underneath our up into the 70s and the 80s, there was a battle between the United States and the UN on definition of indigenous and indigenous rights. So the United States pulled out of the indigenous right agreement, and it wasn't until President Obama signed a letter to put us back into the UN on the indigenous agreement, correct? In 2010.
Correct. Yeah, he did that.
All right?
Right. Yes, he did.
But we have been out of the UN on indigenous rights for quite a while. What we should have been doing while we fighting over who came first, who came last, chicken or the egg, the 8 years that President Obama was in there, we black folks could not get together and have an agenda on our indigenous right for both this continent and from the other continent. Okay? A lot of talking, but no action. Okay?
Yeah.
So, in the meantime, the gay right people done went in and got what they wanted. The Hispanic community or Latino community got what they wanted. The black folks still stuck on stupid. Remember that record on scratch. Because we cannot sit down or come to some kind of conference. We can go to church conference. We can go to everything. We can go to ball games. We can go to everything. But a meeting about us. Okay?
I think we're in denial. Somehow we're in some psychological denial that we just didn't have nothing to do with this race.
We've been in church houses for when we die to go to heaven, but we ain't trying to build something to live here. Okay? The holidays come. Black folks spend more money on holiday than white folks does. We buy everything out the store. Obesity. Black people, they ain't never been as fat as they is now. I ain't gonna call them please and plump. I ain't calling it overweight. They over than ate. They done ate most of the money they should have been putting into the fight. Okay? I'm not being rude, but it's the facts. We can cut our budget and put money together.
Yeah, they eat more. They ate it up at the buffet. That's what you trying to tell us. They ate all the. See, they don't realize.
Ate the fight.
They don't realize they need lawyers.
Ate the fight.
Now here's the key.
Here's the fight.
I gotta go there.
Wait, that's just one part of it. Then we got the rest of them going out here making the white man richer by buying cars that they producing, and we're the one making the Donald Trumps and all these people rich. Now black folks want to go check in these high-up hotels and say, "See where I've been." Black folks going on cruise ships to cruise, and black folks don't need to get on no cruise ship. The ship done messed them up before. Okay. And now they jumping their butts on some ships. Okay.
Okay.
If you had a history that they tied you in the ship and brought you behind here, why are you getting on a cruise ship to go see something? So they bring you somewhere else? Come on.
They might do. This
Indian ain't worrying about getting on no ship. Okay, I heard the story of how they got the Africans over here. So this Indian ain't getting on no ship.
You ain't getting on no ships.
No. I told you to figure out how I'm gonna get to Cuba. Didn't I tell you that? I'm gonna come down there by you. Y'all gotta really convince me. I'm gonna get there and get that. Okay.
You gotta go there.
Now,
hold on. You did say your family was shipbuilders, so just go on one. Just pretend it's your name. You better.
Listen, my family hadn't studied. Look, my family hadn't studied. Look, they had not studied the history that I studied. Okay. See, I learned from them, but I done did some studying, okay? and I seen a lot of trickery going on. Okay?
It's trickery.
Yeah, there's a lot of trickery going on. I tell my husband all the time, I wish my grandfather was living because I could tell him some things and I could fill in some gaps, okay? Because it's in the paperwork. These people wrote down what they did, okay?
Yeah, they did.
They wrote it down.
Yeah, they did. Now,
let me
ask
when they tell you they're going to give you a job, then that's what they told these people. We're going to take you over there, you're going to work, it's full of riches. That's why people still think it's the land of streets of gold and honey and all this here stupid stuff, because that's what they tell people. Till they get you here. Till they get you here. Now, when you get here, you find yourself a slave.
To something, huh?
To something.
To something,
Let me tell you something. I went to the Tea Party people. That was crazy. They called me, asked me would I speak for them one day, and I told them, I said, yeah, I'll speak. And I said, but do you know who I am? Yes, we do. Are you sure you want me to speak? Yes, we do. So I go speak for them. There's a room full of white folks. Okay? So when I walked in there, they was wanting to teach me to help my people because they was wondering why black folks stuck on being a Democrat where the Republicans was the one helping black folks. I let them go on through their whole little story. And then I asked them, who told y'all we don't know that? Tell me who told you we know that story. But anyway, when it was time for me to get up and speak, I got up, I said, good evening, niggas. Good evening, niggas. So all these white folks turning red and purple and green. One guy leaned over and said, did he just call us a nigger? I said, yes, that's what I called you. Good evening, nigger. Because the word nigger, let me break it down to you. You wanted everything, the land, the jobs, you want everything. You got it. Check the unemployment list. You got everything. Now, you the new nigger. You the one got to pay IRS all that money because the average black person is out of work. Hello, niggers.
This is Chief Wars, and she is all on roll up in here on OE Dry Bone. If y'all want to get on this one, I'm telling y'all better come through 626-414-3504. I gotta take one caller from that one, man. This one caller. Make your call brief and a statement brief so we can keep going down the line. There's a lot of you on the line. 7950, you on the air.
Yeah, I'm trying not to laugh. I love her. But I would like her to talk about the first Statue of Liberty and also talk about the Californian people in California. Excuse me, I have a impediment, but a lot of people don't believe that the first Statue of Liberty was given by France, and it was of a black woman.
Yeah.
And I would like I'll talk
about that.
About it, please.
I got okay. She said about the Statue of Liberty, and I think she went on your page where you had the California indigenous, where you talked about them. So the Statue of Liberty, which is by France, is traditionally known to be black. What's your take on that?
Okay. Yes, and I had that on my page at one time, and I'll repost it tonight so that people can see what you're saying. Yes, right. It was black, and it was an indigenous person structure if you look at it, okay? But the thing is, we got to wonder why we don't have it today. That's what we need to be asking. Because what it was about the motherland, okay? And this was a gift because you got to remember the French people were making money here, especially along the Gulf Coast. Okay? See, we keep leaving France out. France played a major role here along with Spain.
That's right.
But France got whipped down by the British, and I'm just using it that way. So the British replaced whatever France already had in place, just like they do through towns now, take and change names and change things. Well, that's what we got to look at. France lost out on their land holdings in America at one time. And the only thing, because they had to loan stuff to Spain, okay? So when they borrowed from Spain, they lost out on a lot of their control. They also was in battle with Britain, and they lost out there. So a lot of stuff got changed, and along with the black statue, which I still want to know where it's at. But yes, that did exist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And what about the California?
I'm going to say California. Okay, your black Indians in California, there's something. There's a film. A friend of mine's worked on it when she was younger, and so she ended up bringing it. There's a film about an Indian named Ishi. Okay, Ishi. I'll post that on my page too, so you people can get it. And the story about Ishi, gonna show you about a black Indian. He was the last one left in the mountains of California, speaking his language. And when Ishi came down, they start doing experimental testing on Ishi. They even put Ishi into a cave for people, white folks, to go see him. Okay? Ishi died a miserable life. They took Ishi brain and studied his brain and everything. So Ishi was the last of the California Indians that lived. Look that up. Ishi.
I thank you. All right, we got one. We're going to keep it going, y'all. Make your comments brief so we can get as many as we can. 5223. 5223. You on the air.
Oh, good evening. This is Amira in Alabama. Second time I'm listening to you, Dry Bones. When are you going to have Dr. L. Henderson on your show? And also, great information. I want to know about the Cali people in California. Do you have any information about them? Thank you. I yield.
Yes. Thank you. Go ahead. She just said it. Just give it one more time. She might not have heard it. Give it one more time about the Cali.
Okay.
How they get on your website.
Okay, a lot of names that we hear and we are looking for as tribes that you see today, those are names Europeans gave to a lot of these different tribes, okay? And that does not mean that was what those tribes called themselves, okay?
Right.
So we got all of these tribes now when it wasn't them many tribes, and that's why I asked you, Dry Bone, to read those books. You didn't have all of these tribes that you're hearing of today back in that time, okay? So you start getting tribes being renamed in the 1800s.
Right.
So we got all these tribes, but they have broken up large families. You had nations and tribes. And one nation can have many tribes. And then we had divisions and subdivisions. But they all function with governments. And they had confederacies to work together, okay? So when you're hearing all these new names, I'm not going to be familiar with all of these different names because there are thousands of names that people are calling tribes. The best thing to do is to go back to the base, go all the way to the base. And I know Ishi came from the base of the California tribes. Because you got to remember now, the California tribe was mostly females, as history tells it. It was a bunch of women. Okay? It was something like the Amazon women, so it wasn't a lot of men in there. It was a lot of women.
Right. Yeah, beautiful fit. Let me go down line 9927. You on the air?
Resurrection, Chief. How you
Resurrection.
doing? You're
Resurrection.
awesome. So are. My question is, where can I get or test or find out more about my ancestors? A good place where I can research to find out about me. I'm in Buffalo. I was told that I was Blackfoot, some Cherokee, something else. So I know I'm a special bird. I got a mixture of indigenous in me. So to actually find out, how can I start, or where should I look?
That's a good question. A good question. I'm gonna answer it for you. Indians didn't go by paperwork or all those things. They went by land and villages. The best way for a person to find where the people come from in this indigenous battle is to find out where your ancestors came from and get that mapping in the era of that area. Because, okay, first of all, there was no Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida. Okay? So then you have to deal with the geographics. You with where I'm at, Dry Bone? Go back into the older maps and go to your geographics. Take your people back to that geographic. If you come back to Southeast United States, you're going to fall under Chattahoochee Creek, okay? And what we have to look at is the Sumanaw is a tribe that supposedly came together in the latter part of the 1800s from a mixture of Gunner and Creek, okay? So that's a make-together tribe, okay? But go back and look for the other four tribes. Chattahoochee, Cherokee, and Creek is your main thing, and then you got your Chickasaw, okay? Then you got your Sumanaw come in there. And then go back in those areas. If you in that area, you're one of those three. So don't worry about if you're Chattahoochee, Cherokee, or Creek. Be Muskogee. That's your language. We come from the Muskogee-speaking people. Okay? Some things you're not going to be able to fix if you wasn't raised in it. It's just like people saying they're going back to Africa to their motherland. They can't even find the geographics because it's an African continent. What I can help you do if you out of those tribes is to put you back in your geographics. Okay?
Yeah, that's it. That's all you can do because the DNA, we finding out now that they are even faking with the DNA findings. They got the actual person on 60 Minutes admitting that they have been faking on them DNA tests. I don't think they really.
All they have to do is if they're on my Facebook page, go there. I posted that on there so people can see it. That junk is they only can tell you of a small percentage. Please go see it.
Right.
And stop spending your money. Stop spending their money for a DNA test. Okay.
Yeah, because they admitted it, y'all. I seen it myself. Minute. Let me get well, she's going around. Let me go to 8848. You on the air?
Hello.
Hello. We hear you. Go ahead, girl.
Can you hear me?
We hear you good. I hear you.
Okay, good. Wow, I love this show. Thank you so much, Chief, for coming through. And you were speaking in reference to the Jackhawks. Is that how you call it?
The Jayhawks.
Jayhawks. Right. Jayhawks. Right.
Right.
And well, you know, my grandmother told me that when she was growing up in Cuba, she saw how in that same matter, oh my gosh, I thought so much about my grandmother, how the Spaniards would get their baton and they would slice, they would, you know, make like a hole in the ground, and then they would get the pregnant women and slice the stomach of the pregnant women. And I, oh my gosh, so, you know, who learned it from who? That's what I ask. Yeah. And another thing is, when you say Jayhawks and you describe all that atrocity that they were doing, man, it reminds me of Jack-o'-lantern.
Anything? All right. Thank you, sister. Good question. Good. What about that? Being that Spain had a lot to do with that.
Can I touch on the Jack-o'-lantern since you said Cuba? I didn't know Cuba had the Jack-o'-lantern. I didn't know Cuba had the Jack-o'-lantern experience. We had the Jack-o'-lantern experience here, and I guess why Cuba had it and we had it is because it was the same people here that was in Cuba controlling at that time, okay? But the Jack-o'-lantern is when people would go out and they disappear. You never saw your people again, and they call it the Jack-o'-lantern. A light come through and your people is gone.
Y'all hearing that? So next time
and it's strange that she brings up about the Jack-o'-lantern in Cuba, which means Cuba was suffering the same plight my people were suffering here on the Gulf Coast.
Oh, no doubt, because that's where one of the colonies were located at in Cuba. People should look that up. They had a movie about that where they had all the fighting. It's a lot of history that we mentioned now that you told me, and it makes sense.
It's the same thing as my grandfather would not allow us to be afraid of the word boogeyman, okay?
Right.
Because the boogeyman was a thing to scare people to stay inside at night, okay? And my grandfather refused to stay inside at night, and he would tell us, if we told my grandfather we were scared, he was going to make you go outside, okay? Because he told you darkness couldn't do you nothing, you were safer in the dark. But what the white man tricked people with is the boogeyman. That's so his behind can go to sleep and don't have to worry about you, okay? So that wasn't only for slavery. So if they scare you about something, it was more things to put fear in you so they can control you. My grandfather brought us up. Whatever we was afraid of is what he sent us up against.
Let me keep going. I got my brother 777. You on the air?
Hey, brother Dry Bones, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you good, brother. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, very informative. I think it's kind of sad that doing, I guess, the educational experience in this country, they really don't touch too heavily on the Afro-Indian history, and you have a lot of generations growing up into adulthood who are oblivious and also not too sympathetic to the cause. and the actual the history that's being painted. All we could know of the tragic of the Trail of Tears and the Custer's Last Stand. These are the generic history that we all tend to just know about, but we don't know the in depth. And I really appreciate the sister for coming out and doing that. And she should get more exposure. But anyway, I have a question to ask.
Go ahead.
I think that being that they're indigenous, I still think there's a lack of history. Either I don't know if it's maybe because it hasn't been passed down properly, but clearly there has been a experience on this planet where there is a lapse in memory. I don't know if that's a cosmic result, but do the Indians have any written history that coincide with any type of cataclysmic event that affects this planet? Because clearly when this white man evolved to where he got to, he was also suffering from a lack of understanding his history and origin. The Africans across the globe are also suffering from a lack of knowing or disconnect from the past of their greatness. So clearly there's a consistency here that memory lapses tend to coincide with something. But in her history, or of her tribe, do they have any type of written events of that nature? And I'll take that off there.
Appreciate it, man.
First of all, culturally we didn't write our history. A person becomes a book. My grandfather raised me as a book. And a book is recorded within your mind, and you record the book with the next generations as they come. That's what powwow is for. That's what coming together is about. It's called the meetings of the mind. And you teach medicine, you teach life, you teach history, you teach genealogy. It's times for that. We as people of color, we go to church to hear about going to heaven. We go to the ball game for entertainment. We do everything to occupy ourselves from going into knowledge. Native people did not entertain themselves that much, okay? They passed down knowledge, and even in the entertainment, it was history being passed down. Right now, the entertainment that we see is distracting people from being a progressive person in society, and if it's doing anything, it's demeaning people. Because when you start seeing your women on TV and everywhere on the internet, right now, some people want to make friends with you on the internet. You can't even take them serious because I got to look at their butt. You know what I'm saying? So when are we going to become serious, especially the women? You know, a mother should be a mother. I see grandmothers dressing in a way that they can't even go to a meeting with their grandchild. Okay? So what happens in the Indian community, the older women teach the younger women how to be a lady. The men teaches the boys how to be a boy. A boy starts hunting at 10 years old. At 10 years old, he's supposed to be going hunting, fishing, learning how to farm, to feed his family. We didn't left from that. We want to go to Walmart, okay? So if you're going to Walmart to get your grocery, you're not learning where your grocery coming from. You're not knowing how to raise your groceries, so you're going to starve if they shut Walmart down. If we really want to learn who we are, we have to go back and connect with the earth. We have to connect back with the earth.
And that's now we're. But let's go there because just again, there'll probably be a lot more people and being inquisitive about, is there a structure for just Native Americans at this time who are producing food? Can commerce come from the regular people and supporting the farmers that are left? To something
well, let me explain this to you. I'm glad you're saying this. I'm going to speak as a woman, USDA farmer, and an Indian farmer. You can't get black folks to buy from people of color. You know, I'm just being realistic with you as you asking me this. I told you, you know me, I'm just honest, straight talk.
I'm feeling you because it is an issue
black
with
farmers are starved to death waiting on a black person to come buy from them because the first thing they do, they go down the corner and tell them, I don't buy for them. All they want is some money. But they'll go down the corner and buy from the white man. They'll go buy from the people from the other countries. That's why the other people in the countries got their stores in our communities. Because we won't do business with each other. Okay? We got to start teaching our dollars and cents and make it come back to our communities. And I like what the gentleman say, is there a book? Here is the book. Check where we're spending our money. Check what we are teaching our children. Check why we're leaving our communities to move into a white community censor block. Every time a black person moves into a white community, you taking your money that's coming down congressionally, putting it in that white community. But if we start building back our black communities, then we'll bring back our money to our censor block. We'll strengthen our voting power. Okay? Now, I know they got some movements out there where black folks saying, I ain't involved with politics. I'm not for voting. I'm not for this. Well, do you go to work and pay taxes? Do you go to the grocery store and buy food?
Yeah, they
because if
do.
you're not doing everything independently, stop telling me that you're not a part of this government, because you're a part of this government. You're dependent on this government for your food and your medicine. So
Yeah,
you need to have a voice.
Now let's go. Let's stop right there for a minute, because this is where in my opinion, and this is not, I can't factuate, but it seems to be a delusional take where people think they have totally just left. And for a minute, myself, I thought, hey, but you realize a reality check will come where you realize you connected. We got bank cards, y'all. We do transactions. It's no way you can say you're not part of what's going on. You might ignore it mentally, but factually, you're getting the check, you're deposited somewhere, you're getting some debtor notes that you know great what they really supposed to mean, but you're still going to have to use them. Let me ask you this, Chief. Economically, you're in a big state, and I tell you, a big region now, but what can we
African Americans are officially independent, and they have a major national treaty with 80 countries to back it up legally. The treaty's called the Declaration of the Global African Diaspora Summit, and it gives African Americans regional government powers as Region 6 of the African Union. This region contains 350 million people in 90 different countries, and African Americans are identified as the strongest in the entire region. African Americans are officially a new world power government on the same level as all other world governments, just not as organized yet. Regardless, this regional government title means martial law, forced vaccinations, and other executive orders from the U.S. government will not apply to black people in America. It also means law enforcement officers are no longer authorized to police black people. The mass media hid this major treaty away from African Americans for almost a decade because they didn't want them to find out how much economic power they now have as a new regional government of Africa. But the secret is out, and this new strategy for justice is called Diplomat Day. Diplomat Day provides coordinated execution between high levels and ground levels to eventually eradicate racism.